There's nothing better than seeing people moved. There's nothing better than hearing from somebody I never knew that story. I need to look into that story further. I want to learn more.
The artist may capture what it really is to live with history, to live with the unwieldiness of history.
You want to be transported into that world, which is not the same world as historical accuracy and verification.
A lot of these pieces are based on historical fact, but they're not there to teach a history lesson.
Creativity can then lead to critical thinking, right? Or questioning of whose voices have been erased, whose voices have been louder.
He calls up the philosopher and psychoanalyst Frantz Fanon, the Nadal sisters. He even calls up Josephine Bonaparte, Napoleon's wife, who came from this tiny island of Martinique. We have a duet of Josephine Bonaparte and Josephine Baker, another transatlantic voyager.
The historian is bound to chronological time. And so an event that happened here, then its refractions may be felt over here. But in a historical narrative, they may be separated.
There is a way in which history is story also. Works of art that kind of retell history, how do we approach that? It depends on what the work does. Is it really disinforming, or is it by pulling different histories together, for example, provoking an illumination?
If you're a musician or an artist of another kind, you can put those events in intense juxtaposition. I think it's much more difficult for the historian in a conventional historical narrative to be able to show the intensity of the past popping up into the present. Historians and artists share an ethic of making history bearable. What we see in art is it helps us pick up those historical pains.
I see a light in your eyes, though you feel alone. There is a hope that never dies.
I think the Nisei soldier story connects to all the other stories of color in America. They don't sit on an island on their own. The story is so dynamic, and it's so moving, and it's almost so unbelievable that it carries itself. And that's what I love about it. There's no fiction here. Everything is accurate. Everything happened. All these people you hear about were real people. And there's not one stitch of anything that is made up. It's all fact. It all happened.
The story that you'll hear is more of a kind of a mixture between a sort of romance and a comedy and a tragedy. The basis of the story is true, but the actual opera is more about the human elements of the story rather than the historic elements of the story.
If we kind of go in with no knowledge, no curiosity, no questioning, and go in with the assumption that what you see on stage is the history with a capital H, then yeah, that could be a problem.
Fictionality is part of art. That's actually what makes histories so much more vivid when they're actually being represented through art.
Arts give us a way of bringing into our bodies and carrying forward history.